After Sebastian Fundora's destructive and very impressive fourth round TKO against Chordell Booker, what's next for Fundora? Fundora obviously holds two belts at the 154-pound division, one of the deepest divisions in the entire sport of boxing. So what is next for him? As there's no shortage of potential opponents for him. For potential names, there's a Vergil Ortiz, Jermell Charlo, Bakram Muratalovic. Of course, Terence Crawford does have a belt at 54, but word on the street, some reports that came out, I believe even Terence Crawford might have put these in the reports. He's not planning on coming to 154, and I never anticipated him coming back down to 154 after he goes, and he's going to fight Canelo in September. So that'll be a belt open to somebody. But for Fundora, what's next? I think for him, obviously, while we would love to see more unifications, again, he has two of the belts already. We want to see these belts continue to be fought for. I think it's time to give one fighter in particular a shot at the title. A fighter who deserves it and seems to be not ducking any smoke at all. That's Vergil Ortiz. Before we get into that, make sure you like this video, comment, and subscribe if you want to see Ortiz versus Fundora. Let me know in the comments. But back to looking at this, I think it makes the most sense in the world. Vergil Ortiz has proven he's ready. After the Boachuk fight, people wondered, hey, we had hyped Ortiz up for a lot, and he did not look good. He didn't look great in that fight. What's next? He goes and he fights Madrimov in a fight that it's do or die. A lot of people picked him, a lot of people didn't. And Vergil Ortiz proved that he's the man. So it's time for him to get a legitimate 154 title shot. And who better than against Sebastain Fundora? Fundora, 6'6", 154-pounder, a firefight. And that's the thing, 6'6" has the reach, but isn't always going to use the reach. He'll fight you on the inside. Vergil will fight you on the inside. Both have really good power. This seems like a no-brainer. Obviously, the reason Fundora hadn't fought in a year was because of the bloodied fight against Tim Tszyu and the Errol Spence Jr. fight that never mounted to anything. And what's funny is a lot of people were picking Earl. I wouldn't say a lot of people, but people were picking Errol Spence in that fight. Not because, they thought he was going to come back even stronger, but because of the body work Earl does. They thought, hey, against a 6'6" fighter like Sebastian Fundora, he's chopping down the tree. The body work of Errol Spence would get to Fundora. Well, if they were thinking that for Spence, they have to be thinking that for Vergil Ortiz. Vergil Ortiz had incredible body work against Israel Madrimov. So this is a fight just made. Can Fundora not only fight a little bit more from the outside, but when he does get on the inside, avoid those potential body shots on his 6'6" body against Vergil Ortiz. Additionally, for Fundora, another fight, and I don't know if this would be a fight against this opponent in this opponent's first fight back or down the road, but a fight that could be very fun is a fight against Jermell Charlo. I still think Jermell Charlo has some more in him. He's taken a long layoff off of the Canelo fight. He's been out of the spotlight and basically in its entirety. I want to see Jermell Charlo back in the ring because people forget he was the undisputed 154-pound champion. Then he goes up, fights Canelo for the bag, really isn't good at all. All his titles get stripped from him. He's out for this long period. I want to see Charlo back in the ring. I want to see what Charlo has still left in him because I think it's a good amount. I mean, a lot of people didn't want to fight Charlo. He was a bulldozer at 154. I want to see if he's still like that. I think that'd be a fun fight, and I think both of these fights that I mentioned, hey, these could happen in Texas. I think these could be huge fights in Texas. Obviously, I think Vergil versus Fundora also could happen in Vegas. I think that fight would do good numbers in Vegas. I think in Texas that fight could do great numbers. And then, of course, Charlo from Houston. I think that could do really good numbers as well in Texas. But for Fundora, I think these are great options. Obviously, you have contenders like Xander Zayas, who I believe saw him after the fight. You have these guys at 54 who you can fight. But what's the fight the fans want? And I really think the fans want Fundora versus Vergil Ortiz right now. I think that's the fight to make. Vergil's proven that he deserves and needs and wants a title shot. There's reports that him and Bakram, excuse me again if I mispronounce the last name, Murtalov, were in negotiations, and Vergil's father came out and said, hey, this is new to me. I don't think that's true. But the point is, Vergil is going for a title. That would be for the IBF belt. Vergil wants a title shot and deserves a title shot. I said that after his fight against Madrimov. He deserves a title shot, and I think the Fundora fight is not only the best fight you could potentially make, but the most fun fight. I think these guys will get into a slugfest and early on. I think that could be an extremely, extremely fun fight for the fans. Now it's up to Fundora to see what he wants. He looked good, obviously, against Booker. It was a get-back fight for Fundora, and I'm not mad at it. Was out for about a year, waiting for that Spence fight. Unfortunately, didn't happen. So now let's see where he goes. I think it's Vergil Ortiz. I think both sides would want it. I think that's a big fight. I think for 2 belts in the division. And if you don't do that, go and see who else you can make, because there's a plethora of candidates at 54 you can go and fight. This division, again, is loaded. And to see Fundora back in the ring is huge because of the fact he does have those 2 belts. Crawford has another one of the belts. He's gone. So 2 of the 3 basically available belts at the moment were tied up with Fundora. To see him back in the ring, that's good. Now let's get another opponent for him, and a big-time opponent. He's got his get-back fight back. Okay, he's gotten that done. Now it's time to see him against a top-tier contender like a Vergil Ortiz. Again, I'm high on a Vergil Ortiz fight against Sebastian Fundora. Heck, I might even pick Vergil Ortiz. I don't know. It's really a good fight. I think that the fans really want to see. And I think that's the only fight to make after Sebastian Fundora's fight against Chordale Booker, which ended in a 4th round TKO. Set it up. I think that's a great one. This has been the Never Drop Podcast again. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, and comment below. If it isn't Vergil Ortiz, who would you like to see Sebastian Fundora fight next? Let me know in the comments below. That's all I got for you today. Peace. I'm out.